Hello everyone and welcome to the WhiteGoblinGames living room. Today we are rulers of a very small area within the kingdom, but that's not enough for us, we want more. So what are we going to do? We're going to place tiles with factions on them. Those factions belong to us already, but they also have special abilities to get us points and take away factions from other players and get them to our side. And that way, if we have the most factions, we win the game. You want to know how to play this game? Then let's see in this tutorial video of Claim Kingdoms. Place the scoring board at the edge of the playing area. Select, depending on the number of players, the number of factions to be used in this game. For 2 players it's 7 factions, for 3 players it's 8 factions, and with 4 players you play with 9 factions. Shuffle the cards of the chosen factions to form the draw deck and place it face down at the edge of the playing area. Draw the top card of the deck and place it face up in the middle of the playing area. Draw the top 3 cards of the deck and place them face up next to the draw deck. This is the display. Deal each player 1 card from the deck. Each player takes their hand in hand without showing it to the other player. Each player chooses a color and receives all the player markers of that color. Players place their influence markers in front of them in a personal supply. Each player also places their scoring token with the 50+ side face down next to the scoring board. This token is used to track your score during the game. Give each player a player aid card. Choose who will be the start player. The game is played in turns. Players take turns in clockwise order. The start player starts the game. When it's your turn, you go through the following steps in order. First, you place a card in the playing area. Place the card you have in hand into the playing area so that at least one side is adjacent to the side of at least one other card. You cannot place the card like this. Then, place a marker of your player color on the just placed card. Now you can use the special power of the placed card. This is optional. Use the special power of the card you have just placed. If you choose not to use the power, then it's lost and you cannot save it for your next turn. If a special power causes you to score points, then you move your scoring token the same amount of spaces up on the scoring track. When you play a Goblins card, you score 1 point for each goblin with a marker of your color on it. If you play a Giant, then you flip a horizontally or vertically adjacent card face down. That card is ignored during scoring and when performing special powers of other factions. When you place a Dwarf, you score 1 point for each Dwarf in this row and column. Note that the gaps and face down cards cast by special powers of the Giants in the line form a blockade. When you place a Troll down, score 1 point for each different faction in this row or column. You must choose if you want to use the row or the column to score. Gaps and face down cards cast by the special power of the Giants in a line form a blockade. When you place a Dragon, you score 1 point per horizontally, vertically and diagonally adjacent card. You do not score points for face down cards. When you play a Gnome, you just score 1 point. But then you can also place a player marker from your supply on a horizontally or vertically adjacent card. If there's already a marker of another player on that card, then you now both control this card. It is not allowed to have 2 markers of your color on one card. It's also not possible to place a marker on a face down card. When you place a Knight, you may remove a maximum of 2 markers from horizontally or vertically adjacent cards. Removing markers from only one adjacent card is also allowed. When you place an Undead, then you exchange the marker on this card with a marker on another card. The power of the card to which you move your marker does not activate. If there are multiple markers on a card, then choose one marker to exchange with. When you play a Seer, you can use their effects at the end of the turn. Now is a good time to tell you how your turn ends. So first we placed a card in the playing area, then we used or didn't use the special power of the placed card, and now the last step is to take a new card. You take a card from the display or you draw the top card of the deck. With the Seers, instead of taking a card from the display or drawing the top card of the deck, you may draw the top 3 cards of the deck and choose one to keep. Shuffle the other cards back into the draw deck. And last but not least, we have the Doppelgangers. Doppelgangers copy the special power from the faction of one of the adjacent cards. There are little exceptions, because Doppelgangers stay their own faction. They don't change to a goblin or to a dwarf. So when you play a goblin, you only score points for each goblin that is your color. Doppelgangers do not count. This is the same rule as with dwarves. You score 1 point for each dwarf in the row and column, but the doppelganger does not count as a dwarf. If you want more information about these special abilities that a doppelganger can copy, then you can look inside the manual or leave a comment down below this video. And now, the last step is to take a new card. Then it's the next player's turn. The game can end in 2 ways. The first is that the draw deck and the display are empty and all players haven't got any cards in hand. The second is a player hasn't got any more player markers in their supply. Then the game ends immediately. After the game end is triggered, the end game scoring is performed. Players score points for each faction that they control. A player controls a faction when they have the most player markers of their color on cards of that faction. In case of a tie, all tied players control this faction and all those players score points for that faction. For each faction you control, you receive the amount of points indicated on the top left corner of that card. You score points per entire faction, not per card. Track these points by moving your score token up that amount of spaces on the score track. If you score more than 50 points, flip your scoring token to the 50 plus side and continue from the first space of the scoring track. The player with the most points wins the game! Although Claim Kingdoms is part of the family of Claim, there are different Claim games, this game sets itself apart because it's a tile laying game and very different in the mechanics. And if you want to see the other Claim games, or just games in general that we produce, then go to our website www.WhiteGoblinGames.nl. And if you like these videos, press the thumbs up, and if you want to see more, subscribe to our channel and leave a comment down below. If you didn't quite understand the rule, then we'll try to help you as fast as we can. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial video.